Yesterday, there was sun and there was rain, beauty in the mundane. And as the light startled our eyes, we let go of disguise. And now, there's something in the air, and a sparkly shimmer on our skin, restoring everything within. Oh.
Hey guys, welcome back to the Farmhouse Knitting Podcast. This is season 5 and episode 4 of this podcast. And I don't really know why I keep track of seasons anymore. It was an idea I had a while ago, and all I know is I'm somewhere on season 5, and all the seasons don't really make sense as far as how many episodes are in each season, but this is podcast number 47, if you're kind of just wondering in terms of what, how many podcasts I've put out there, because they're all separated into seasons. So this is my knitting podcast, and it's really just a knitting video on YouTube, because I am sharing with you what I'm working on and what I've finished as far as knitting projects go. So welcome to my cozy little corner of YouTube here. And I also have a blog. It's thesealfarmhouse.com, and I've been trying to be more consistently posting some blog posts on there. So you can find the show notes where I'll share all of the links and things I reference in this video in that blog post. So I'll link that in the description box down below this video, and it'll take you to a little more info about yarn I share or patterns. And so yeah, that's that. And I actually did just post a blog post this week where I'm sharing a little bit about knitting photography and just taking better pictures of your knitting. And this week specifically, I was talking about 5 really simple things you can just buy at Trader Joe's or probably most grocery stores. But these 5 things I got specifically from Trader Joe's, and they're actual things that I use in my knitting photography, whether that's for on social media or for knitting patterns, or honestly when I take a picture of something that I've worked a long time to knit, I want to do the best job I can, even if I'm just texting a picture to my sister of what I finished, because I like to say that even Andrea Mowry's knitwear wouldn't look its best if it's photographed at like 9 p.m. on her carpet or on her couch cushions, because there's a lot behind what goes into photography for taking pictures of your knitting, but I feel like a lot of people assume that it's complicated, or they kind of just don't really think it's important, and you can just take whatever pictures you want to of your knitting, which is totally true. I mean, you take whatever pictures you want to of your knitting, but as far as taking the best picture you can with your phone, and like I said, these things from the grocery store, it's really just a super easy way to take a picture of what you knit, and it makes the yarn look like its actual color. And instead of like that orange tinted, I took this right before bedtime on my living room floor kind of feeling you get sometimes. Or even like the knitting stitches that you have, if you did some lace work or cables, or you just want to show off the knits and the purls, it's so much nicer to take a picture, a simple, quick picture, and have it just represent your knitting projects so much better than, like I said, just what the quick, easiest solution, I guess, is. But I want to kind of emphasize how easy it is to take a better picture. And literally, you're already going to the grocery store, and these are some simple things that I added to my cart, and I actually use them in everyday life and not just photos, because when I first became an Etsy seller, I thought when I took pictures of stuff with my knitting, I thought I had to keep like a props drawer in my house that was like, this is what I use for taking pictures of my knitting. And then it just felt like, I don't know, it didn't really feel like it flowed very well. So this is all stuff that I use in my actual house that I'm sharing. So yeah, today I have my Hygge Home pillow, and that just honestly sits on the back of our rocking chair in the living room. I have my knitting project, like notions bag. This basket rotates between keeping random toys or like board books in our living room, and yarn is always out. This like clover placemat, that's on our kitchen table normally, and then flowers that I got from Trader Joe's. I like to get their flowers because they have really good seasonal flowers like tulips, but I always get baby's breath. And so what's in a vase here, I don't know how much of it you can see, but I have fresh baby's breath there. This one has been drying out for like 6 months. And so, yeah, I still use them. It's not just like I'm just using it for pictures and then I just toss it and it's kind of a waste and it was all for show. It's actual stuff I'm using in my house. So I wanted to send that along because, yeah, it's super easy to just add a couple new things that are gonna just make your photos a little more cozy and just a little bit more styled. So eventually I would like to do another post about like the lighting and the angles and maybe the gear, although gear, really all I use is my phone for taking photos. And again, it's not just for people who design or sell their knitwear. I don't know about you, but I always send pictures of what I'm knitting to either my husband or my mom or sister. So I always thought it's super simple and it's something that everybody uses as much or as little as they want to as far as taking pictures. So that was a long-winded intro to say that today I am doing some St. Patrick's Day knitting, and I have all sorts of greens and yellows or golds, I guess, out. And so I wanted to share with you kind of my, not on purpose actually, but my St. Patrick's Day colored projects that I'm knitting. So the first thing that I will show you is what I'm wearing. It's my finished project, my finished object, I guess. And that is something I was working on last week that you guys were very excited about, this yellow, because this yellow is so much fun. I have two skeins. Don't know why. They're the same sock and they're the same size, but this one wound super loose and this one wound on my ball winder really tight. So I use the same amount of yarn, but this one is very dense and this one's very lofty. So that's how much of it is left. But I have, let's see. Here it is. I was like, I know I have it. I came prepared. I have my Jaeger spun, I believe this is Heather, and the color is Maize. And that is 100% wool. And it's 166 yards. I have not measured or like weighed these yet. So I don't know exact yardage yet, but this is how much of it is left. And actually, for reference, just juggle all my knits. This is a new skein of the same yarn, except in green. They call this Sylvan Green. So, yes, the reason that I'm showing you guys these and that I don't have the finished yardage is because I have a test knitting call that I have a link for down below if you want to just test these. It's a super fast worsted weight cabin sock. So I'm calling them the simple cabin socks because they are simple and it's just as easy as can be. I started my heel flap the other day and then last night just worked my way down and finished the toes because I wanted to be able to wear them today. So they are very simple, very fast. Yes, if you want to test them, I have a link that I'll post, but basically I will choose testers on March 21st. And then I'm asking testers to be done by April 4th. So that is 2 weeks later. Like I said, it's a really fast pair of socks. It's not your typical socks that take multiple weeks to work on in one pair, and then you get second sock syndrome. These are so nice because they just go so fast. And then I'm going to publish these socks. Very simple, like a vanilla cabin sock. I'm going to publish them on Monday, April 10th. So if that sounds like something you want to knit, if you want to have like a really fast spring knitting win, then yeah, please go head over to that link and you can apply to test them. And speaking of testing, my testers have finished all their testing and all their notes for the Farmhouse chicken socks. And I've worn these, I think I wore them 2 episodes ago in a different color. This is the Farmhouse chicken socks that I'm working on now. And for this pair, I just wanted to knit them alongside my testers in case they had any questions. I could be working on it right as they are. The pink accent color is just Yarn Bee. It's like their hand-dyed, I'm not sure, it's just their hand-dyed yarn and it's Yarn Bee. And then the rest of this is the Hue Loco backyard chicken collection in the Bantam Heather. So if you can tell, I'll turn it this way, it is a shorty sock. And so this is just a few rows of the leg, a few rows of the cuff, and then you're doing the heel flap and you're onto the foot. And these are such a good spring pair of socks. I love them. And so that is releasing on, Monday, the first day of spring, so March 20th. So I'm very excited about that. And so that's what I'm knitting today. That's what I'm wearing today. Oh wait, my brain is all over the place, but I'm trying to make sure that I don't leave anything out and I have all the info that you guys might be wondering as far as what I'm sharing today. So this yarn is Lion Brand Hometown USA, and the color is Riverdale Tweed. And it's a super easy pattern. The only reason it's labeled as intermediate is because it has a cable. But it's a really easy cable. It's all knit in a flat rectangle and it's sewn together and then you add the buttons. So the hardest thing, I guess, would be the cable and adding the buttons if you haven't done that. But other than that, that's the yarn info. I use size US 15 needles, and the pillow is a 16-inch by 16-inch pillow insert that I got off of Amazon, and it's way better than the one I had gotten from Walmart a whole bunch of years ago. It actually stays flat. Oh my gosh, my brain. It actually doesn't get flat like my Walmart one did immediately. This one stays a lot more puffy, and so it fills out the pillowcase a lot better. My brain is just trying to keep up with what I'm doing. And actually, I'm knitting these socks and they're really easy. They have such a simple repeat. I just do a cable every 4th row. But what I was going to knit is actually my next whip. I was planning on knitting this in the video, and then I realized I need to be realistic here. I'm not going to remember where I'm at in a pattern and also be able to talk at the same time. So I set this aside and I figured I'll just show you more than one whip today and yeah, be able to talk a little better, but we're seeing how that goes so far. So this project is one of the ones I was talking about a couple episodes ago. I haven't knit on it since then, and part of the reason is because it's one that I have to focus on, but this is the Winter Honey Shawlette. So it's by Andrew Mowry, and it's the mini version, I guess, of the shawl. I really, really wanted to knit the shawl, but I didn't have enough of this yarn, and I wasn't willing to get a different color yarn than this one. So this yarn, get the yarn tag, is Rowan Cashmere Tweed. It's merino and cashmere, so It's also 96 yards. Let me see, it's an 80% wool, 20% cashmere blend. This yarn I got for Sal or Yarn Shop. They have really good yarn sales, and they didn't have, I was seriously one skein or one ball of this short, and I was like, I could go with, there was more of a muted purpley color. I was like, I could go with that and get my big giant shawl that I was hoping for, but I was really, really set on this green. It was around this time that I also got this one that's green and a few other greens. So I was really having a green movement in my life, and I really wanted to do this color. So I thought, let me think, I ended up getting 8 balls of it or so. I can't remember how many I ended up getting, but I was one short from getting the shawl size. And I did look online, and I can't find this yarn in the same color or same lot anywhere, so I didn't end up getting it. But yeah, I settled, but that's okay. That's okay. Sometimes you have to decide. You can't have everything, and you have to decide, is it more important to have the project or the yarn? And sometimes it's because the yarn fiber isn't right, or you don't have the right amount of yarn. And so in this case, it was not enough yarn, which is so sad. But this is so fun. It's got this, it's called the Honey Repeat, which is straight stockinette going up the front, and then you, or up the middle, and then you do some increases to send it in each direction, and then you do some cool cables along the way, which is really fun. And I'm not in a hurry to finish this because, well, it's not really going to be a good season to wear it by the time I'm done. So I'm trying to be realistic about, just doing it the best I can. And actually, I got maybe like this much into it and realized that my pattern was doing something weird. Something wasn't measuring up. And I realized that I had missed a yarn over somewhere along the side. And it threw my number off, and also you didn't get this nice where like every other row you have a yarn over. It was all sorts of messed up, and so I tore it all out, which was painful, but necessary if you want your project to actually show up the right way. So this is what I'm knitting on. Let's see if I have any notes. This is, the color of this is actually called Yorkshire, and it was one of the 5 fun spring yarns that I mentioned in my last episode, and actually so was this Jagger spun. Does anyone know if it's Jagger spun or Jager spun or Jaeger spun? I don't know. I keep saying Jagger or Jager spun, and I feel like that's just not right, but who knows. So yeah, this is my my whip that involves a little more heavy thinking and paying attention and note taking. Which really all I do for my notes, I have the pattern here, and I'll cover it so you don't see the whole pattern because it is a paid pattern, but I keep a sticky note, or not a sticky note, a post-it note on it, and the reason it's not in its page protector is actually super, oops, there's a ladybug on my bag. Super goofy reason. I had it in this because I was taking it to my mom's house a couple weeks ago. So I had the whole thing in here with the yarn because it was a whole situation of needing to be ripped back and fixed. And so, yes, that is the story behind this project. But other than my first mix-up of where the pattern was going, I really like it. And I'm excited to finish it and have it be my very first shawl. I've never done something that's a shawl. I've never done this shape of anything before, as far as doing the triangle and starting at the point, and we'll see how it all goes. But I'm very excited. It's one that I've had on my mind for a while, and I've had it printed out for a while. And at first, I actually had planned to knit it with the, what is it called? It's a Pound of Love. Is that by Lion Brand? I want to say it's Lion Brand who makes a Pound of Love, which is like an all acrylic yarn, and it's just straight gray. And it's great for some things, but for this, it just wasn't. And I do think what was needed was a good tweed because, I don't know, I just feel like even though it has so much texture in the actual pattern, I really felt like it needed something tweedy. So I'm really happy that it landed on a good green tweed And it's a nice tweed, or not a nice tweed, it's a nice green. Because it doesn't feel like this, I would say more of like a rich, bright green, like a, not Kelly green, but very bright. And this one is very, like it has a blue tone to it. So that is, that's going to look good, I think, against my face and my neck because I have more of a cool tone of my skin. So I'm excited to finish that. And I finished my homebody sweater, so I felt like I could do, not that it's a garment, but it is something that takes a little longer. I felt like I was ready to cast that on. So yeah, speaking of which, how are you guys with your whip counts right now? I feel like a lot of us knitters started the start of the year and planned to either have less whips or finish some whips that they already started or not buy any new yarn for new whips. So how are we doing with that? Because let's see, I have, how many whips? A couple socks, these socks, another pair of socks, 2 more pairs of socks, so 3 socks, a shawl, my stocking, which, okay, so I'm working on the Ginger Mint stocking by She Thinks She Can on Ravelry. I saw it because, actually I think I saw it because the Crazy Sock Lady was knitting some and I was intrigued, and then I went on there and saw how many different styles this designer makes using the same yarn, and so I'm able to make one that looks very much similar but they're all still different for all 7 people plus a dog in my family. So that's what drew me to it. But I had a lot of trouble with the corrugated ribbing, and so I think I'm going to end up just ripping it out, and I'm going to go back in and start with a smaller needle size on the ribbing, because originally I did, I followed the pattern and it's doing this weird flaring at the top, at the cuff part of the stocking. And so I had a couple suggestions and I tried a few of them. I tried an I-cord edging and then that didn't work. I tried going down a needle size and that didn't work. And then I tried to widen the I-cord edging and that didn't work. It still just makes for like a wider roll, I guess. It wants to roll outward. So you end up seeing already the color work floats on the back. So I think I'm just going to rip all the way back out and restart. Because I think that's what's stalling my progress on it. I haven't touched it very much at all. And I think it's because I'm not happy with how it's looking already. And instead of trying to like go back and fix certain things, like just patch it up, you know, I'm going to restart it. So that's the progress of my Christmas stockings. So I would like to eventually get those done and off the needles and hung up at Christmas time. So going back to what I mentioned about the couple photo props that I got from Trader Joe's. Really, they're just products you get from Trader Joe's. And it's not sponsored or any sort of affiliate anything. It's just, I love Trader Joe's. It's where I go grocery shopping. And I love the fact that I can get stuff for my knitting there. So the things that I shared in my blog post were a candle, which I don't have any right here right now. They're seasonal. So the last ones that I had were Christmas, and then right before Christmas they had a really good, what was it? It was vanilla pumpkin or something like that. And then also Honeycrisp apple. So they're candles. They're so super cheap, and you do go through them pretty quick, but if all you're doing is like, I'm going to use it for my photos, or I plan to just do it a little bit at a time, or I'm okay kind of just lighting it now and knowing it's not going to last a ton of days. But they're so super cheap, and they actually do smell good. It's not like a gross, like dollar store scented candle. So I'm talking and I'm distracting myself. I'm at a cable row. So that was the first thing, is to always check for their candles. And at our Trader Joe's, at least, they have candles by like the hand soap, where you get like the fruit and veggie wash for washing dishes, or not washing dishes, but I keep it where I keep wash dishes by dish soap. So yeah, checking for candles, and it's usually a seasonal thing. I haven't seen anything that's a springtime candle from Trader Joe's yet, but I also saw something at checkout that was saying, like, what was it? Does anyone know? It was like, vote for your favorite candle or something like that. So they are planning to do something again soon with their candles. So I'm excited about that because it's seriously like, I don't even know, less than $5 for sure for a candle. Did I start my cable too early? 1, 2, 3, I don't think so. Yeah, that's the first one. The second one I don't have out today. Well, 2 of them I don't have out today. I love their cinnamon rolls. They're super tasty, but also, as much as I love Pillsbury cinnamon rolls, Trader Joe's cinnamon rolls make for the best pictures. They're really big. They're like jumbo sized, and their icing looks good. Pillsbury, their icing tastes really good, but it doesn't look as good. I guess it kind of runs. It's more runny. So yeah, I really like to use their cinnamon rolls in a skillet, obviously, because that's how I cook it, which means I also need a hot pad because otherwise I'm setting it on a blanket or on whatever and it's really hot. So Trader Joe's also has these like wool felt pom-pom hot pads. And the one I have is from Christmas time, so it's kind of more Christmas colored. But I also know they have them in the summer because I've gotten one as a gift to my sister. She had a summer birthday, and so I found one for her. But those are so nice for a lot of reasons. I actually do use them for cooking. Anytime I'm putting something on our counter, if it doesn't fit on our oven, on our stove, I actually use them. But also, they look really cool, and it's such an easy way to add like something festive, whether it's summer or Christmas, to your picture. So having that kind of peek out from your skillet is kind of just like a fun little detail that I like to do. So that's numbers 2 and 3 of my Trader Joe's, I guess, simple products to use for photo props. And then the next thing is, let's see, I have 2 more, right? I have 5. So the next thing is their coffee, and this can be any kind of coffee. I always just get their medium roast, and you can actually, the nice thing about Trader Joe's is you can actually grind your coffee in the store. I had no idea this was a thing you could do until like last year. But yeah, you can grind it in the store, and then what picture doesn't look better, what knitting picture doesn't look better than when it has coffee included in it? It just makes you feel like you want to jump into the picture and sit there and drink coffee and knit with a friend. So that's always my tip. And I don't know if you can tell, but I do have my coffee hiding over here. And this is actual Trader Joe's coffee. And it's in my mug that says my happy place, and it has some mountains on it and a little house. And if you want to, even you can put the whipped cream on top and sprinkle like cinnamon and nutmeg on top. But yeah, coffee makes all pictures more cozy. So I always have some coffee on hand ready for that. Meanwhile, then the last thing I have is, like I talked about, were my flowers. So I showed you the baby's breath that was dried out. I'll show you my new vase of flowers. So I have baby's breath and some pretty little tulips, which I love. Also yellow. I was not planning all this color scheme, but here we are. And yeah, I always get baby's breath no matter what. It's super cheap. It's $4, and or at least at ours it is. And then I get whatever is seasonal, and they have good tulips and daffodils around springtime. So those are always fun, and then they last really for a long time. I mean, I wouldn't say like longer than a normal flower, but you know how you get some flowers. I've gone to Aldi and gotten flowers, and they really don't last. Not to shame Aldi, but just however they package it up at Trader Joe's they do such a good job. So, yeah, I like to add flowers to it, and then it's something that I use all the time, because if it's something I'm going to buy extra from the grocery store then I want to be able to use it, like have a multi-purpose use for it. Another thing I get is eucalyptus, and this I don't do as often because then I hang it upside down in our shower to let it dry out, but also let the hot water, like, I don't know, release whatever scent it has and make it smell good in there. But I don't get that one as often. Same with baby's breath, really, because it lasts for so long before it starts getting really dried out and like crusty and yeah, not good. So that is one that I'll get every once in a while, but it also lasts pretty well. So yeah, those are my five secret things to making knitting photos, and they all come from the grocery store. So I'm sure there are not very many of you searching on Google for what can I get from Trader Joe's to enhance my knitting photos. I'm sure that's not something that most people are Googling, but I also was kind of thinking about what can I share about knitting photography, because I do get a lot of questions about it. And I think, like I said, it just seems like, and I was the same way, it just seems like people think it's harder than it is. And really, all this stuff is stuff from my house that I use all the time. But when I first started my old shop, Sparkly Twig, I had my husband nail together these wood planks, because we had like the not as cute honey oak skinnier wood floor, or like, I guess they were like laminate floors at our old house. So it wasn't a cute background. It was kind of orangey colored. And so I asked him if he could build me this like backdrop, basically, so that I could take pictures on a nicer looking rustic wood thing. But then I had this massive, really heavy, basically pallet board sized creation that I had to store. And it was just like, there has to be a better way and an easier way. And I know so many people who will go on Amazon or even to Menards, and you can get either sheets of like hard or like roll out, and it's like the same consistency and material as wallpaper, and it's like different pictures, so it can look like wood or it can look like marble, and it can be all these different things, which is good if you want to have it be that involved. But my whole thing that I wanted to really emphasize is like, this is, it doesn't need to be that much more complicated. It doesn't need to be an extra cost, you know. And so that was, I guess, the heart behind why I wanted to share about this, because like I said, it's not for popularity's sake. It's more if you're interested in knowing about taking pictures of your knitting, or if you're curious about how I do it. I'm not sure, but I was hoping that it would be helpful for some of you. And also, it's kind of different. It's not usually a topic that you might come across while on YouTube or scrolling around on Instagram. So that was kind of my mission behind that. So that is all I have to share this week. If you're interested in testing these simple cabin sacks, then head over to the blog post. If you're interested in this farmhouse chicken sacks pattern that releases on Monday, head over to the blog post. And if you want to know anything about the yarn, or even a link over to the blog post about the Trader Joe's, then that's all in the blog post, which will be down below. So I try to make it nice and simple, nice and easy, make your lives a little easier and a little cozier, a little happier. So thank you guys. You guys make my life very happy, because I just love checking in with you guys and having you guys check in with me and hearing all about you and your families and who you're knitting for and what you're knitting. And I'm very thankful for you guys. And you are really an incredible community that we have here. So thank you guys for your support, and I will catch up with you guys next week. All right, stay cozy.